Beauty is absolutely authenticity. Beauty is empowerment from the inside. Beauty is that I can sit up straight, that I can look you straight in the eye, that I can tell you I'm 63, I'm proud of it. I've lived I've lived a life. I want to continue to live a life and I will. And I'm going to live life to the fullest. And I am not going to have any fake things done to me to physically look any different.
Welcome to the Beauty Talk podcast, where we feature how the best medical practitioners help their patients to look better, younger, and healthier. Now, enjoy the show, and here's your host.
Daniel Gouw here. I'm the host of Beauty Talk. We feature the top practitioners in health and beauty, both inside and out. I have Adena Bank-Leaks, an internationally recognized speaker, author, trainer, consultant, and advocate dedicated to shining light on hidden forms of childhood trauma and supporting survivors on the path to healing. She is the author of Covert Emotional Incest, The Hidden Sexual Abuse, A Story of Hope and Healing, and its companion journal. Over her 35 plus years in practice, Adena has presented and trained more than 100,000 professionals, bringing her deeply informed, compassionate approach to audiences across the field. So Adena, welcome and glad to have you here.
Thank you so much, Daniel. I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, so let's start from the very beginning, Adena. How did you first get interested in this field?
I grew up a very middle class Jewish family, Long Island, New York, that believed education was extremely important. And my dad was a school psychologist, and I idolized my dad. And so from when I was probably 3 or 4, I knew, because I remember thinking to myself, I'm going to help people when I get older. And I remember in second grade thinking, I'm going to work with kids because I know how kids feel. These adults don't know how they feel. And then when I was about 14, I said, I know that I'm going to be a psychologist. So I idolized my dad. I think I was born with the empathy gene. And the family system that I lived in also unfortunately set me up to be the marital therapist and the confidant and supportive partner, substitute spouse for both mom and dad. So I had lots of experience before I ever went to school.
Wow. Okay. And so that's what led you to specialize in this specific field when it comes to
Correct.
it's called mental health.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to dive a little bit deeper into that because in your introduction, you work with people who've had childhood trauma and also the incest recovery. So,
Yes.
I mean, talk a little bit more about that. Like, I'm sure that this can be a very, very deep subject and also very difficult for a lot of people. So when people come to you, I guess, what are the manifestations of what is happening to them currently because of their trauma before?
So I'll tell you two different things because I had a private practice for about 15 years and I closed it at October of 2020. And right now, what I do is I run specific psychodrama groups in a residential treatment center here in Tucson. So in my private practice, so that's outpatient, people come once or twice a week, see me for an hour or two a week. Those people showed up with depression. They showed up with, I'm really struggling to be motivated to go to my job. I feel very overwhelmed most of the time. Sometimes I'm crying and I don't know why. Or very high achievers who said, I cannot slow down. I am pleasing everyone. I'm doing everything for everybody else. And I have no idea who I am, what I want, what I need. And I am stressed out to the max. I had a few people who came and said, you know what? I'm having spaces of time that I don't remember. And I'm waking up on the bathroom floor and I'm saying, how did I get here? Or I'm waking up in my car and I'm saying, wait a second, I was just in the kitchen. How did I get in the car? And about an hour has gone by. And this is very scary. Can you help me? Do you think you know what's going on? So that was an outpatient. When people come to residential, that means they stay and they live there for 30 to 45 to 60, sometimes 90 days. These are people who have recently attempted to end their life because they have been so overwhelmed by the secret and the shame and the guilt and the fear of what's happened to them that they don't want to talk about it. And some of them, if we're talking about covert emotional incest, which is not physical genital contact, We're going to talk about that, I know, in a little bit, but it's a hidden sexual abuse. People come with, I am so overwhelmed. My body is shaking. I can't concentrate. I can't think. I can't do my job anymore. I can't take care of my kids. I'm using substances like crazy. I've stopped eating. I can't sleep, and they can't function. And that's what brings them into a residential program.
Mm. So when it comes to this trauma, would you find that most people that are coming in for this, that they know, they remember the trauma that happened and they know that this is what's causing it? Or are of a lot of them just repressed it, they don't think about it, they don't remember it, but something is manifesting in the ways that you mentioned?
So that's another great question. And I'm going to answer it, and I'm going to give just a little bit of education because you said the word repressed, that they repressed it. So I just want to let everybody know that we don't use that term anymore because we have the neurobiological research that validates a phenomenon called dissociative amnesia. And what that basically means is your brain is set up to protect you. So there are people when they don't quote unquote remember, it's not a repressed memory, it's that their brain literally has put it away and they have amnesia about it. They don't remember it. Not because they're trying to suppress it. That's a whole different story. Okay. Suppress is different than repress. Suppress is, I don't want to think about it. I know it, but I don't want to think about it. Dissociative amnesia is, I have no awareness. And this just came up in a group that I did in the last day or so when somebody said, I was talking about X. All right. They were talking about something. And oh my goodness, what happened was my body started to get really hot. I started to shake and all these feelings came and I had no idea what was going on. And then I saw the picture and I saw the picture of my father choking my mother and almost killing her. And I was about 8 and I watched the whole thing and I was terrified. And she was crying and she was shaking as she was telling this. So she said, I had no idea. So this is the kind of thing that can happen once somebody asks for help. Excuse me, once somebody asks for help, Daniel, and they begin to open up, their psyche literally says, okay, I'm going to let you know what you can handle at the moment you can handle it, but I'm not going to let you know any moment sooner. And we know this from research now.
Mhm.
So there are people who come in and say, I know exactly what happened. There was a lady today who said, I was raped by 3 people in my adolescence. I'm now a grandmother and I've never told anybody. And I have just been crying and I haven't been able to function. And this is the first time I'm telling anybody. So if we talk about if people know anything, if they've watched any news in the last year and a half, they know about the Epstein files. They know about the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's crime, sex trafficking ring. And they know how difficult it is for people to come forward to be able to tell their story because of how scared they are, how much shame they take on from their abusers. Sometimes they're threatened, their lives are threatened, Dan. Their families are threatened. If you share this, if you tell anybody, I will kill you, I'll kill your mother. Your life will never be the same. And as a little kid, even into adolescence, even into adulthood, those people can hold positions of power. And so that keeps our mouth shut. And so anybody who speaks up and says, hey, this happened to me, takes a tremendous amount of courage and takes a tremendous amount of support. So people who come in with covert emotional incest, most of them have no idea that that's what's happened because we don't speak about it enough. It's not in the regular vernacular now. We don't talk about it. And a lot of professionals don't even know about it. This is why it's so important I'm on your podcast right now, because I want people to know about it. And I want professionals to know what questions to ask. I want the lay public, your listeners to know, oh my God, this is a thing. This could possibly be what's going on with me. Maybe I can say, do you know anything about this? So again, I've had at least 3 people in the last week and a half say to me, thank you for your book, which is titled Covert Emotional Incest, The Hidden Sexual Abuse, A Story of Hope and Healing, because they said, I had no idea. I've been in therapy for 10 years. We can't figure out why I'm still so anxious, why I'm not able to be sexual in my relationship, why I have so many difficulties in my life. And when I say, okay, so were you responsible to taking care of either of your parents' emotions? The tears start to come. Did you ever feel like a cringe or an icky feeling when you got too long of a hug or a kiss that didn't feel right from a relative or a caregiver? Tears start to come. Were you told about your parents' marriage by one or both of your parents and you heard sexual content, you didn't want to hear it, but you heard it anyway, and you felt like you had to take care of them and protect them and make everything better? Then the floodgates come. Those are very typical things, and we don't usually think about that as harmful. It's extremely harmful, Daniel.
So when you talk about covert emotional incest, how would you define it? Is it that the amnesia you were talking about, or is it different from that?
It's different.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna read it because I think that's the easiest way to do it. Okay. Okay. It is an elusive form of sexual abuse. So that means it is not overt. There is not any physical touching or genital contact within a family system. And it's characterized by 4 elements. The first one is called triangulation, and I want to explain that. Triangulation is a term in family therapy. Triangulation is when, and we're talking about a family system, and I'm going to give an example of a very stereotypic family. We know that we have many types of families now. Okay, so bear with me. So we have, let's say we have 2 caregivers, and it doesn't matter the gender, okay? But those 2 caregivers don't have the skills to deal directly with each other in their relationship, to deal with conflict with each other, and or to ask for outside help from peers or professionals. So they use one or more of their children as a go-between. And it creates a triangle. Instead of talking directly one-to-one, then I talk to you and then you talk to that person. Okay. And we have that all the time. I mean, that happens all the time in relationships. So in covert emotional incest, that's happening with the caregivers. They're using the children. That leads to a breach in what's called the intergenerational boundary. The intergenerational boundary is something, it's not tangible. It is supposed to be in place. It's an energetic boundary that's supposed to be in place that separates the unified executive committee of the caregivers, whether it's 2, 3, however, but they're adults, and the children. So that kids have a voice in families? Absolutely. We know that being seen and not heard is abusive. Kids have a voice. However, kids don't have the power to run the family and to make decisions like, where is the money spent? Do we move or do we not move? Okay, that's not a child's responsibility. Taking care of other siblings, we know in big families, those things happen. However, in alcoholic families, in single parent families, kids at 5 and 6 and 7 are taking care of their younger siblings before they are prepared to do anything like that. That's not okay. It's not blaming anybody. It's not making anybody bad. It's saying it's harmful to the child. That's a breach of the intergenerational boundary. The child needs to stay a child. So the child gets set up by the system to jump up that intergenerational boundary and be in a peer-like role with their caregivers. They're not a peer. Okay. Then we go to the role of the word incest. Why, Dina, do you use the word incest with this? Why don't you just say, okay, a kid lost his childhood, had to take care of the kids, so they were parentified. That's another word. Or why don't you just say there are bad boundaries? Well, I say incest because when you're in a substitute spouse role, and that's what this is, a substitute or surrogate spouse role, you're in a sexual role, whether there's physical sex happening or not. And there is sexual energy and romantic needs that are being met. in that role from that caregiver. And that child has no words for that. They don't have context for that. They are emotional, energetic sponges. They pick it up, they know it, and they act it out. They have no words for that. And so it's not amnesia, it's not repression. It's, I never even thought of it like that. So if I could share just a moment from my own personal story that's in the book, when I was 26 and I was in outpatient therapy and I was talking to my therapist, and I went there for relationship issues and with the current boyfriend I had, and was talking about that relationship. And then I started to talk about my parents and my relationship with my parents. And I finally had words for this. This was at 26. I said, I feel like I'm having an affair with my dad, but there's nothing physical happening. So I feel absolutely crazy. I know my dad loves me, he adores me. And there's something that feels really yucky about it. Like dad and I would go out and spend time together. There's nothing wrong with it. Dad and his daughter spending time together and having a separate relationship from mom. There's nothing wrong with that. What happened, though, was that dad would confide in me about mom and about the difficulties he was having. And he was using me as a sounding board. This is what he's supposed to be doing with his wife or with a therapist or with a friend, not with his daughter. When we were out, I was about 18 or 19, and dad and I were out for dinner. And somebody came over and said, "Oh, is this your wife?" And we laughed, Daniel. We thought that was so funny and so cute. I look like my mom, you know, but it's not cute and it's not funny. People pick up on the energy and they put words to it. It's not woo-woo. It's not, oh, that new agey stuff. No, this is real. And when I finally had words for it, I could get a context for what was happening, but I never had words before. And I also had my mom, when I would hang out with dad, I would have my mom get angry with me. She'd be short, she would be curt. I felt like I did something wrong, but I didn't know what it was until we were able to talk about it later in life. And she was able to say, "I was jealous of you. You got from him what I didn't get." It was like he was having an affair, an emotional affair.
Wow. So when people go through something like this, I'm sure that you've seen situations where they recognize that this is an issue, they want to fix it, and other times it's they see the manifestation of what's happening to them, but they don't know necessarily what the cause is.
Right.
So how do people in this situation find the right professional to go to figure this out? Do they kind of go to like a generalist and then from there try and figure out exactly what it is and then go to the specialist, or how would people approach this if they were going through this issue?
So if you're going through this issue right now and you're resonating with anything that I'm saying, then I want to encourage you, and this is not to sell anything. I want to encourage you to go to my YouTube channel, Adena Bank Lees, and listen to the video that says, "What is covert emotional incest?" It's an 8-minute video. If you resonate with that, then you go and you look for a trauma specialist, a trauma specialist. And you talked and you say, "Do you know anything about covert emotional incest?" If they don't, you say, "Do you know anybody who does?" There is a group of trauma professionals. They're called certified sex addiction therapists. You say, "Wait a second, where does sex addiction come in here?" Okay. The reason I'm talking about we call them CSATs, Certified Sex Addiction Therapists, CSAT. They are trained, lots of training. And part of their training is by Dr. Kenneth Adams, who is an expert in this issue as well. He has been studying this for a very long time. He wrote one of the first books on it back in 1990 or 91 called Silently Seduced. He's updated that book. He has a book called When He's Married to Mom, specifically for men who have these relationships with their mothers. He runs workshops, etc. So he's the person to reach out to if you want to get more information and maybe do a workshop. And he may be able to make some referrals for you for people that he's trained, because they all go through that training. And what I'm trying to do here, Daniel, is I'm trying to get out there and train more people so that you can go to anybody who knows about trauma, and that they're going to say, "Yes, I know about this." Right now, that's not the case.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You're going to get people, the professionals are going to poo-poo this and they say, what are you talking about?
Mhm.
Don't listen to that. You know, if you're listening right now, you know if something's wrong, you know if it doesn't feel right. And one of the big pieces about CEI, covert emotional incest, is that we don't trust our own gut, our own senses, our own intuition. We are taught to not look inside of here and trust this. We have been trained to look at other people, make sure their needs are met, anticipate their needs, and make sure that we can please them and do for them. So there's a lot of, I don't even know who I am coming in the room. There's a lot of, I am such a high achiever. The only way I know how to get love or get appreciated is when I achieve, when I perform. God forbid I should just be me. I don't even know who me is. So if you're somebody who's resonating with that, please reach out for help.
Okay. And when it comes to the actual treatment, this treatment, I believe it's the ABL trauma responsive psychodrama, which blends the neurobiology and psychology. Is that kind of either the main method or the most successful method when it comes to trying to treat this type of trauma?
According to me, it is.
Mhm.
That's the framework that I've developed over the 40 years that I've been working.
Mhm.
And experiential methods. When we say psychodrama, people say, what is that? I have enough psychodrama in my life.
Mhm.
I have psychos in my life and I have lots of drama in my life. I don't need this. So psychodrama is a specific methodology that was created about 105 years ago by a a psychiatrist who was working in Vienna. His name was Dr. Jacob Moreno. And he founded this based on the fact that people he was treating lacked the ability to trust themselves. They lacked the ability to be spontaneous, to be able to adequately respond to new situations. And they were stuck in loops of doing the same thing over and over, even though they were getting the same results. And he said, what can I do for this? And so he created something that's very powerful. It's called an action method or an experiential therapy. And over the 105 years, we've learned so much about trauma that we've had people who have been able to utilize the basics of psychodrama like I have and take from all my trainers and put together pieces that are safe for people, that we do it with safety is number one. If I don't feel emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally safe, I'm not doing anything.
Mhm.
So we create a lot of safety. We go at somebody's pace. You just start talking about it. We practice a lot of what's called emotional regulation. How do I have a feeling and be able to stay present while I have this feeling? That's a lot of the work. What about boundaries? Once I can feel, once I can have some regulation and I can have some feelings and I can stay present and still think and feel at the same time, that's what regulation means. I'm not so anxious that my brain shorts out. I'm not so depressed that I'm shut down. But yeah, I'm having some feelings, but yeah, I can still learn. That's the place you want to be. And ABL trauma responsive psychodrama keeps you in that place while you are practicing new behavior, so that you're changing your brain as you're doing it. The new neurons are firing. And as Dan Siegel says to us, when neurons fire together, they wire together. And we want those new neural pathways for things like being able to set boundaries, that I can have a voice and my voice matters, that I get to discern who I'm going to be vulnerable with and who I'm not, that my body is mine. It's not somebody else's. That's another thing that happens with CEI, Daniel, is that the the person's body and that personality isn't theirs, it's somebody else's. And we get to reclaim. It's called empowerment. So it's a process, Daniel. It's not you have 5 sessions and everything great. No, it's about developing a safe enough, trusting relationship with your provider and being able to walk through that process of identifying, labeling, and expressing feelings, about being able to have a wider, what we call window of tolerance. That's another Dan Siegel term, where when I started my work, I could name a few feelings and I could feel them just a little bit, and then I would get overwhelmed. Now I have a very wide window where I can feel a big range of feelings, and I can feel intensity of feelings and still stay present, still think while I'm doing that. And that is a huge piece for survivors of trauma, specifically about CEI.
Okay. That's a lot of really good information there. So when it comes to the future of this, the treatments and this specific area of mental health, I mean, where do you think the future is going with this?
I have a lot of concern about the future for people. I was just watching some of the hearings with the director of the Department of Health and Human Services and all the budget cuts that are happening to agencies like the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Administration. It's called SAMHSA, for mental health for people who don't have money to pay the insurance companies. So that I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about behavioral health and mental health providers when, as of July 2026, nurses, social workers, professional counselors, marriage and family therapists, licensed mental health professionals, they will no longer be considered by the government professional degrees, which means that somebody who wants to get a master's in social work, for example, will not be able to get the amount of money they need in a student loan. They're only going to be able to get $20,500 a year rather than close to 50, I think, something like that. And so we are very concerned, and all of the professional agencies are lobbying Washington right now to not go through with this because we're very concerned about people not being able to get educated in the field. They can't afford it. And so we are going to lose a significant number. They're also cutting the rates of what they're starting to pay, what they're paying. And we already don't get paid very well by insurance companies. And then they're starting to talk about, slashing rates that mental health professionals get. Those bigger issues I'm extremely concerned about. And I'm doing whatever I can in my activism. In terms of we in the trauma field, we are pushing more and more for more research because the neurobiology of trauma has taken us, Daniel, from like the blind age in the 80s to so much more that we know now that we can assist people. We can assist trauma survivors on a somatic or body level because we know about what's going on now. We couldn't do that before. We didn't know. And so the combination of talking with someone and also using different kinds of experiential modalities takes people so much further, so much faster, because it gets to the parts of the brain where trauma is stored and processed, which are the parts of the brain that do not have words or thinking. So I'm excited about that part. And I'm excited about being somebody who wants to be out there to educate and train. And I will be coming out with online courses in the fall for professionals to learn more about covert emotional incest, to learn about ABL, trauma responsive psychodrama, and to have consultation groups because people need ongoing consultation to be able to service our clients the best possible.
Well, hopefully things in the future get brighter. They don't cut that out, and you're able to bring more education and knowledge to the industry.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Now, Adena, I do have one last question for you, but before I ask it, I do want to point people to your website at adenabanklease.com. Now, last question for you, Adena. What does beauty mean to you?
That's a very interesting question for a woman who is 63 years old now and who is looking at my picture, my face on the Zoom right now and saying, who is that? So right now, beauty is absolutely authenticity. Beauty is empowerment from the inside. Beauty is that I can sit up straight, that I can look you straight in the eye, that I can tell you I'm 63, I'm proud of it. I've lived a life. I want to continue to live a life, and I will. And I'm going to live life to the fullest. And I am not going to have any fake things done to me to physically look any different, because I want to shine from the inside out. And I want to be a model the way Jamie Curtis is a model, that it's okay for a woman, a Western woman, to look exactly as I look and still be sexy and still be desirable and still be empowered and still be fierce and still believe in myself and go out there and get the most in life that I can and have meaningful, deep connections with those that I love. That's beauty.
Very well said. And there you have it. Adena sharing her expertise. So Adena, if people want to learn more about what you do, get some more information, where can they contact you? Where can they find that information?
So adenabanklees.com website. You can go to my YouTube channel, Adena Bank Lees. My email is adena@adenabanklees.com. And I have a form on my website that you can go and it'll come to me. So feel free to do any of those. I'm on Facebook, Adena Bank Lees. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. Just look me up.
Awesome. Well, Adena, this was incredible. Thank you so much for sharing all this in an area which I think a lot of people do not know even exists. So thank you for sharing, shedding some light on it and sharing your knowledge.
Thank you so much, Danny. I so appreciate it. Have a good one.
Thanks for listening to the Beauty Talk podcast. Any questions, please contact the practice directly with the contact information provided during the show. We'll see you again next time. Bye for now.